So in 1989, June, dude Angus stood up and said that his son was dying of a virus that he had contracted. And I was so inspired and amazed that this man, who was, 6'5", what I would call probably in no longer correct language, was a guy's guy. He played basketball at Stanford. He played poker with a poker group. And for him to stand up in that room at a time when Washington, D.C. had not said the word AIDS, it certainly hadn't been spoken aloud outside a house in Los Altos, to stand in front of those men and say that that was what was happening with his middle child, I thought was just unbelievable. So I was at the podium before he was finished to say, if there's anything I can do, I would like to do it. Well, I didn't know dude well enough to know what that meant. I was then officially it for a long time. But it was, in fact, amongst, a small handful of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. The first 20 years of the Rotary AIDS Project. I could go on for the whole hour about it. I won't do that, obviously, but I will say a few things. First of all, it was the greatest teamwork I ever experienced. There were 10 of us originally who met weekly trying to figure out what we could do that would really be a contribution. There were people who thought we should support research. Well, we knew nothing about medicine. And then eventually I think Roy Lave came with the idea that we should do a video. There was a videographer in Los Altos Hills. We had been very fortunate through the district of coming up with $25,000. We were going to pay that to a videographer. I felt a tremendous sense of responsibility to that money to make sure it was well used. And this videographer had a lot of experience doing PG&E films and the like of that, corporate sort of videos. I felt it would, such a video would land on a shelf and never be seen again. So I had remembered that we had once had a wine and cheese, we would now call it, event at the Retreat House. And I met Elizabeth Hoblet, whose son was a director in Hollywood. He worked with Stephen Bochco. He had done Hill Street Blues and L.A. Law. And Elizabeth was a proud mother, and she bent my ear for the entire cocktail party, telling me about Greg. So at one of these meetings, which were held in Dennis's office, I asked who knew them best, who knew Hal, who was our member, best, and asked if they would go and ask Hal if Greg would come to a meeting and just give us advice as to what we should be looking for in a videographer. Obviously, I was hoping for more, but that's all I asked for. So I won't ever forget that day. We sat the guys are all in suits, and Greg walks in with his dad. His dad had been an FBI agent. Greg was a rabble-rouser at Berkeley when his dad was an FBI agent at Berkeley. And they came in together. It was Thanksgiving. I had the impression that Greg probably couldn't go to dinner at Thanksgiving if he didn't come to this meeting. He was wearing black everything, and everybody else is in their suits, and I'm at the other end, the only female in the room. And we asked him what we could do. And by the end of the meeting, he felt, as I did, that there wasn't anybody else who could do what Rotary could do. Because Rotary, with its worldwide connections and its lack of bureaucratic boundaries at the local level, could spread the word in a way that the government was not going to do, and there was no one else to do it. And we needed desperately for someone to get out the word that people needed compassion and understanding. That's really what the AIDS video was about.